Pure Class A, high voltage, ultra live and direct. Bondi Radio.
Hello, Bondi Radio. This is Sheena Alexandra here on a Friday morning with Peter, aka the Cancer Critic. Welcome, Peter. I am so excited to talk to you today. We've got quite a few things that we're going to talk about. The first thing is I want to learn a little bit more about why you call yourself the real life coach. And then we're going to talk about how you beat terminal cancer. And then finally, we're going to hear your thoughts about the pharmaceutical industry. We might get a little bit controversial there. Stick to the end. This is going to be a really good chat. So Peter, let's start from the very beginning. Why do you consider yourself the real life coach?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for inviting me today, and it's a pleasure to be here, and a beautiful view, so you can't beat this. Look, the reason why I class myself as a real life coach is because I've been out there, and like I say to people that, you know, at a war, you've got the generals and you've got the soldiers that are out there fighting the battle. And I was out there on the field, in the field, fighting the battle, you know, ducking and weaving the bullets and just in the jungle. And I had to get through it. So I know what it's like to be in that dark place. I know what it's like to go through things in life and challenges and overcome it. And so when I do share and I talk to people and help people, you know, I am the real life coach. I can say to them, listen, I've been there. There is nothing that you can tell me that you're going through that I haven't been through, except death.
Yeah.
And well, I'll discuss that a bit later. I must face that bit, later on in our conversation. But so I'm the real life coach. So we can talk and
so what kind of real life experiences have you gone through?
Well, okay, going back to 2007, and I'll start from there. That's when, unfortunately, I went through. My ex-wife left me. For whatever.
Why would she do a thing like that?
I know. I asked that question today too, but
Her
you know
loss.
what? Well, thank you. You know, everyone, you know, has their reasons, and I'm not here to discuss that. She made her bed, and that's fine. She can lay in it. But look, what happened, as coming from an Italian background too, you know, when she left, and a beautiful daughter, and you know, it was very, very. I took it hard. I really took it hard, and my business started to go down, and I didn't want to work, and you know, I missed her, and I missed my daughter, and I got to a stage that, you know, financially, I went down to, you know, pretty much $7. I was down and out, and I was on the streets, and I decided that I wanted to commit suicide.
Oh.
Yeah, and the funny part about all this is that, you know, about 3 weeks, you know, before I made that decision, you know, the doctor diagnosed me with depression, and I was on these tablets, and anyway, so 3 weeks on, I just couldn't cope anymore. So I decided that
Wait, can I ask, were you on the depression medicine?
Yes.
3 weeks after you started the depressing?
Yes, I was. Actually, as soon as I got diagnosed, supposedly, with depression, I put onto Zoloft, which are antidepressant drugs, and he also gave me some sleeping tablets because I wasn't sleeping. Yeah. So I didn't know any better, and I'll discuss a little bit, you know, in depth a bit more later on. But 3 weeks later, I just couldn't cope. I got up one morning, I just said, I can't do this anymore. The pain, the emotion, and so I wrote a suicide note, and I had a photo of my daughter. And I got in my car, and I parked the car in a suburb and on the main street, and I took 75 tablets.
Oh my gosh!
And a bottle of Mount Franklin water. Yeah. And you know
So you actually.
Yeah. I took I took all the Zoloft. I took Panamex, Fort, and Panadine, and sleeping.
Wow.
The doctor pretty much said I should have been there. Someone up there was looking over me.
Peter, oh my goodness.
So
can I just ask, sorry, you took all these pills and then you passed out in the car?
I did. Well, what happened was I took the tablets and I put the seat back down, and I just said, I said to God, I said, God, I apologize. You know, being a Catholic and a Christian, I know that suicide is anti, Christianity, but I just apologize. I said, I just can't do it anymore. I'm sorry, I just can't do this anymore. And I started to feel this numbness in my body after 20 minutes. And I knew it was, I thought, well, this is it. You know, it's too late to turn back now. I'm about to go. And that's all I remember, Sheena. That's all I remember until I heard this knock on this window. I could hear this knocking and knocking. And I opened my eyes and there was a policeman there. And the policeman told me to put the window down. I put the window down and he said, put his hand on my shoulder. He said, "Sir, are you okay?" And I remember looking at him and I said, I think so. And all he said was, "Do you know what?" He said, "Just keep smiling and have a great day." And that to me, and this is so true. This is the truth.
Gave me chills.
Yeah, and it's funny because every time I share the story, people, they cry and they have the goosebumps. And that's so true. And I knew then that God kept me alive for a reason. I had a purpose. And, but the funny part, Sheena, was I put the scene up and I looked into the mirror, the revision mirror. I noticed that 4 hours had gone by, just over 4 hours. My eyes were black, and that was from all the drugs. So this policeman saw this suicide note, a photo of my daughter. My eyes were black. He knew my eyes were rolling because of the drugs, that I took.
Yeah.
And yet, he never asked me for my ID or nothing. All he said was, "Make sure you smile and have a great day." So I to this day, I truly believe, as a believer, that God sent, that was my guardian angel that had to wake me up. That's all he had to do. So long story short, ended up in hospital. They pumped my stomach.
Wow.
They kept me there for a while.
Wait, so okay, sorry, I just like the details. The police never called the ambulance. You did.
No, he got in his car and he drove away. That is to this day, and I just.
That's an angel sent right
Absolutely.
there.
And that's
wow.
that is a true story, and I share that story when I get asked to share my story to others.
Yeah.
And that is a fact, and that was my turning point. And what happened when I got out of hospital? I went home that night, and I just remember getting on my knees and I said, "Fine, okay, you know what? You kept me alive. You obviously need me to do something, so open the doors." And that was in 2007.
Okay.
And what happened was, and I got back on track, and my business, I started doing well, I'm top of the world. And then July 23rd, 2014, I faced my biggest hurdle. And I get told that I had incurable terminal cancer called multiple myeloma.
Okay. So can we peel that back a couple of days? What was happening before that?
Yeah, how I was diagnosed. I'm being Italian background. I love my football, soccer, better known as soccer, and I've been playing all my life since I was 7. So this was in July. I was diagnosed, and we started pre-season training in March, April. So I started to go training, and one night at training, I felt this twinge in my back, and I thought, because I've always had back problems. And I just didn't think much of it. I carried on and went home and, denk her up and every day and go for a massage and acupuncture. That went on and on for 1 or 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
The pain just wouldn't go and it got worse. And I thought, this is strange. So one day I thought, you know what? It's either a nerve or it's a muscle. So I need to know,
Where was it? In your back?
Lower back.
Okay.
Lower back. Okay. So I thought, okay, so do I need to go to a chiropractor?
Yeah.
Or do I need to go to a masseuse or whatever just to get the nerve back in the muscle, whatever it may be? So I went to the doctor. I said, "Doctor, can you just do a scan and I need to know what's going on?" So he sends me to the scans. When I finished my scans, the gentleman that did the scan said, "Oh, when are you supposed to be seeing your doctor?" And I said, "Oh," he said, "Go back tomorrow, the next day, doesn't matter." He actually said, "Well, look, sir, I advise you go straight back to your doctor now because I'm sending the results back." And that's all he told me. And I knew then, I thought, "Whoa, that didn't sound too,
promising."
But as a positive guy, I thought, you know what, didn't think much of it. So I go back to the doctor. We waited for about, half an hour, and he had the results, and he called me in, and he said, "Look, the pain it was caused because you had a little hole in the bottom of your spine." And I said, "A bit of hole," and I'm thinking, okay, wear and tear over the years, soccer and all the knocks.
Yeah.
And I said, "So is that from soccer, doctor?"
Yeah.
And he said, "No." He said, "Look, I'm going to do more tests, but you have myeloma." And I said, "Myeloma? Is that melanoma?" He goes, "No, myeloma. It's a bone marrow cancer."
Oh, right, okay.
And I thought, "Are you telling me I've got cancer?" And
Yeah.
he said, "Well, look, at this point of time, the results shown, yes, I'm going to do further tests." So that's how it all started. And I think a week, and by the way, he put me straight onto these painkillers called endones, very strong. I had to take 2 or 3 a day, but
Were you in pain? Were you in that much pain?
I was in that much pain, but
okay.
they weren't doing anything for me.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. A week had gone by, and that was the 23rd. And I got up in the morning. Remember, I was watching, sitting down watching TV, a cup of coffee,
Yeah.
and I couldn't get up. The pain, I had tears. I've never felt pain like it before. So long story short, called the ambulance. They came. They gave me morphine, straight to the hospital. With the result, they asked me the questions. I told them, this is what the doctor said a week ago. And I spent the next 2.5 hours doing every test you can think of. Scans, MRI, blood tests, everything. 3 hours gone by, the doctor comes in and says, we're sending you straight to Westmead Hospital here in Sydney, to the cancer unit. They sent me there, and I could not move, Sheena. I was in that much pain. So that evening, the oncologist turned up with 2 other doctors, and I remember he had this board, like a notepad, and he said, your results have come back, and this is what your diagnosis is. And he said, you have multiple myeloma, which means you have lesions or tumours at every part of your body by your hands and feet. It is the bone marrow cancer has really damaged your 2 upper leg bone.
Okay.
And you will not be able, we don't believe you'll be able to walk at this point in time unless we decide to do an operation, put steel rods. You've got 6 months to live, but we'll try and do this and all these things. And do you know, at that point, that was the point. I remember back in 2007, I said, you know what? No, I'm going to get through this. And I let him finish. And I remember I just looked at him and I said to him, doctor, with all due respect, who you are and everything, one thing I'm going to tell you, that piece of paper is not going to tell me what I can and what I can't do.
Yeah.
I'm going to beat this. And I remember me just looking at me, and then obviously the other 2 doctors were either trainees or whatever, and they're looking at me with this numb face thinking, what, does this guy understand that he's got terminal cancer and he's got 6 months and he can't? But I didn't accept it.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that I like to share with people. When an oncologist or a doctor says to you, you have 6 months, 3 months to live, whatever it is, if we accept that seed in our brain, subconscious, your body will react and respond to what you tell yourself. And simply put, it's like a computer. And all of us have got computers and iPads. If you have a virus, a scam that comes through, if you download that, it will affect your whole computer. But if you delete it and then delete it from the deleted box, well, the chances are you're not going to be affected. So that's what I decided to do. And from that night, the 23rd of July 2014, I decided then and there that I was at war, going back to war, and I knew that there was going to be battles that I might lose and battles I might win through the journey, but it was the war I was going to win at the end and put my flag up. And that night, I decided I'm going to beat this with my mind and everything I've got. So what I decided to do is this. I asked my family member to go back to my office and get all my motivational and inspirational things, because I was very much into this. And I put it all over my room in the ward that I was in. So I would have things like never give up no matter what. The power of positive thinking, and dreams do come true, and the mind's more powerful than you can imagine. All these things. And every day I would read that. So I started to visualize. I started to visualize my body was completely healed. Completely healed. I started to...
So let's go deeper a little bit into that. So what do you mean visualization? And first of all, when you said that you didn't accept the fact that you had terminal cancer, was it that it was just blocked? Like you were almost ignoring that piece of information?
Yes, I didn't accept it. I did not accept it.
It was like it came to you and then it bounced right back. You didn't absorb any of that.
I kept saying to myself, okay, I'm in pain because I've got a muscle. That's what I kept thinking. I did never, ever said to myself, Peter, you have cancer. You have terminal cancer, and you got 6. I never did, because once I accept that, subconsciously,
once you verbally say it,
that's it. Your body will then react. What I wanted to do was my body to respond to what my beliefs, and my belief was that I didn't have it. I was completely healed, and all I had to do is make it manifest. Today, the 21st century, we've all heard the law of attraction. Okay, so the DVD came out, The Secret, the book, and I've got, and it's very successful, and it's so true. But you know what? If you rewind back 2,000 years ago, even Jesus said, if you pray and you believe that you've received, you will be blessed. You will receive your prayer. It will answer. And back then they were telling us that if you truly believe what you ask, And that's what
Yeah.
the law of attraction is.
Yeah.
The universe, it will manifest.
Yes.
And that works in a negative and in a
Yes.
positive.
It's you've touched it. It's the belief.
That's
it's
it.
the belief. You may have a thought, you may have a vision, you may want stuff, but if you don't believe in your heart that it is already happening at this moment,
That's right.
it's not going to happen.
Absolutely. And you know, I can now, because again, going back to the real life coach, because I faced all these challenges and I had this massive challenge in July. And let me tell you, when you get told you only got 6 or so months to live and all these things, you know, that's a massive challenge. And you need, and you're laying in bed. I ended up spending a month there. I had 3 others, so it was 4 of us in the ward. And the interesting part, Sheena, is this. I could hear these other patients day and night saying, I can't do this anymore. Can't do the pain anymore. I just want to give up. I need to. And you know what? You know, and unfortunately, 3 of them passed away, and I'm still alive. Because what happened after 2 weeks in hospital, I started to walk.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's on video. And when I remember, because I'd been on my back for 2.5 weeks,
Yeah.
what they did, the rehab people came in and they said, oh, we're just going to lift you up and make sure you got blood flow in your body.
Yeah.
And I remember just sitting up and the pain was still, you know, it was still there. And there was this little, you know, the walker was in front of me. And I had this urge. I want to walk.
Yeah.
So I said to the guy, can you do me a favour? I want to walk. Can you do? And he says, you can't. And I said to him, I remember saying to him, Alex, I said, Alex, don't tell me I can't. I'm going to. No, but the doctor, don't tell me I can't. I will take responsibility. I want to walk. All I want you to do is just hold me and I want to start walking. Well, I started to walk. And I did 2 laps around the ward and the nurses would look at me and, you know, they'd known me for 2.5 weeks and they started to cry. And that evening, the oncologist came back in, and I remember him saying, he said, Peter, I've got record that you started to walk. I said, yes, I did. I said, I told you, that piece of paper is not going to tell me what I can and what I can't do.
Yeah.
I started to walk, and I remember him just looking at me, and he said, you know what, Peter? Whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it's working. Well, that was it. That was the absolute green light that I knew I had to go ahead. And, you know, 5 months later, 5 months or two weeks later, in December, I did a blood test, and they couldn't find any cancer in my body. And the visualization, the power of positive thinking, using the law of attraction, and the power of prayer, as I said, being a believer, you know, it all worked together to beat cancer.
Yes.
And from there, today, 2017, we're nearly July, so 3 years on, I'm sharing my story worldwide through Facebook and everywhere else, and giving people hope, not just in cancer, but whatever you're facing in life, that you can overcome. But being on this journey of this cancer and the research I started to do whilst I was in hospital, because they started to give me 10 chemo tablets right from day one.
Yeah, I was going to actually ask you this. Did you refuse any of the medication when you were mentally trying to heal yourself?
At the beginning, with the tablets, I just thought, you know what, Sheena, let me tell you, this is the problem. When your back's to the wall and you're very vulnerable, you just get told you've got terminal cancer and you've got X amount of time to live, and, you know, it's a shock to your system. You need to be very strong to be able to, you know, to overcome that. But when you've got a doctor, oncologist, and people saying you've got to do this, that's why people then get into chemo, radiation. So what they did, they started to give me, well, they didn't tell me it was chemo tablets. They said it was the you need to take for your system, for the blood and this. You know, and you just start, whilst you're in hospital, you start to take it. I was on 18, 19 tablets a day. And I was getting steroid injection, hormone injections every day. And then they said, oh, we're going to start radiation. And I thought, you know, but I'm at this point in time, this is about 4 or 5 days later. So, but I'm researching. So they did.
So meanwhile, you're in the hospital and you're doing your research on how people have cured themselves, not only through thought, but other means.
Holistic, alternative way,
Okay.
absolutely. Because I knew, but I was getting all this information. It's very hard sometimes, yeah, because of the internet and the hospital, and you know,
what to believe and what not to believe.
And that's right. And then all of a sudden, you know, I started to realize something. I had a chemo. I had chemo. Besides the chemo tablets, I had an injection of chemo, and I went to the cancer unit there to do the chemo when I got out of the hospital after a month.
Yeah.
And do you know that? They gave me and I looked around, there was about 15 people getting chemo. And I looked around, and every person that was getting the chemo, just before they were injected with the chemo, the nurses, they would spend about 10, 15 minutes putting on face mask, hand, body, head, and I'm thinking, well, hang on. If they're injecting this into our veins, they're protecting themselves. I'm thinking, why? Why are they protecting their skin? There must be a reason. So I started to really do my research. And
so you're sitting in the waiting room and you're making this observation that they are putting gloves on, they are protecting themselves from this chemo, they are, something doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up.
And then they're putting this same stuff that they're protecting you from inside your body.
They're injecting it into our veins.
Like any that does not make any logical sense.
It doesn't. And that's the thing. And that's how my journey started now that I'm been a cancer critic, because now I asked the questions then, and I still ask the question today. Give me any logical explanation why any doctor, oncologist or authorities or whoever they may be give you the two biggest cancer causing treatments: radiation, we all know what radiation does, and chemotherapy, which is toxic, which is poison into our veins and our body. Why? Well, they say, the chemo kills cancer cells. Well, really, doctor? It doesn't. It does because it kills everything. And the cancer cells just happens to be part of it. See, I have a saying, Sheena, you're not sick because you have cancer. You have cancer because you're sick. The reason why people end up getting an illness, disease, or whatever it may be, it's because there is something in our bodies that allowed that cancer cell to start in our bodies. So if that's the case, it can also be reversed. And I need to make a point here. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, a professor, I'm none of that. I'm just me, who went through the journey, the experience, and beat cancer through my means, and I share my story. So
you're an expert at cancer. You've got more expertise in this industry than any doctor.
My immediate family, mum, dad, my sister and I, my dad had cancer and he died. My mother got diagnosed with cancer. My sister didn't get cancer, but she ended up with MS, and then I ended up with cancer. So do I know a lot about cancer? Yes, I do. And I researched it. And you know what? I'm going to make a statement here. It's about time that they got to stop lying to us and stop telling us the pressure they put on us about chemo and everything else. And please, I'm not saying not to do chemo. All I'm saying to your listeners and everyone out there, just do your research. Please, that's all I'm asking. Do your research,
So you've watched The Truth About Cancer.
I have.
Okay,
yes.
so that's something that I'm very, very passionate about. I think this documentary, for the viewers out there, it is an eye-opening documentary that talks about the medical industry,
that's right,
the history of the medical industry, and really the main goal of what the medical industry is all about. And when you peel it back to the basic core of why this industry is in business, is for one reason only, and that one reason is
money.
That's
what
money. So you being sick is giving them money. On the bottom line,
us staying sick gives them money. The last year, the pharmaceutical companies made 200 billion. That's a B, billion, just in chemo treatment. Now, do you honestly think that they're going to release the cancer cure? Let me ask this question to your listeners. 50 odd years of raising money to find a cancer cure. 50 years. Where's the money going to? Do you know when they say, it's been done through research and that, you know who controls that? Pharmaceutical companies. Why is it that NASA can spend billions and billions of dollars for a machine that wants to go out to space to find out, is the surface of the sun hotter than the core of the sun? Really? And yet there's people dying all over the world with cancer, kids with leukemia, and yet where's our money going to? The pharmaceutical companies controls everything. It's that simple. I'm sorry people don't, but there is a fact. It is a fact.
And these people in white coats are there to protect us. And yet if they are here to protect us, they're not giving us all of the options. There's options out there like cannabis oil that cures cancer.
That's right.
There's options out there like diet
that
cures cancer. There's the Brzezinski method that cures cancer. There's Seeds. You talked about how the body is deficient in B17, which
That's
is
right.
what causes cancer.
That's right, a
We
deficiency.
know all about this.
That's right.
And yet we are not given the full truth. And that is where my anger is coming from, because life is a very precious thing. We don't just get born. It takes a 1 in a billion chance to become a baby, to be born, to have this beautiful experience on earth. And there are people out there deliberately making us sick and deliberately not healing us for money.
Oh, and Sheena, I'm 100% agreeable with you, and that's the thing that really upsets me, is that they're not telling us the truth. You know, when a doctor or oncologist does their 10-year study at the university, they spend, I think, 45 minutes or thereabouts on alternative or food in relation to cancers and that. The rest is about drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs. That's it. And you know what? You're aware of this. In the last 2 or 3 years or so, there's been about 50 holistic doctors
Yes.
that accidentally passed away.
Yeah, no, it's like
Or
65
died.
now.
Or 65, they are.
I have been following this from death number 1, and to watch it unveil like this almost every day, they were dropping like flies.
Yeah.
And mainstream media doesn't cover this,
Yep.
and
Of course they won't.
it's just it's loose change. Things do not add up, and we're not being told the whole truth.
No.
And we're being lied to.
And that's what my I'm really upset, like yourself, is because why are you lying to us? You know, the doctors will say, to a cancer patient, you are now in remission. So, but in the next 5 years is very delicate, because that's when it can come back. So what I need you to do is keep coming back every 6 months. We'll do a blood test and see. And what happens is 3 years go by, you go back, it's been great. Third year, Sheena or Peter, it's your cancer, your ovarian cancer is now spread to your lungs. Now you have lung cancer, or you have a brain tumor. Really? Well, that's a lie, because let me tell you something. First of all, cancer really doesn't spread. But you know what it is? It's the radiation and all that toxic chemo that they inject into your body that will cause, because when your immune system's down is when you tend to get illnesses and diseases. That's it. Simple as that. So with the chemo, what happens? My immune system went down to 0. I got diagnosed with golden staph twice, whilst I was sick. Why? Because my immune system was 0. They were more concerned that I would pass away from golden staph than the cancer. But guess what, Sheena? If I would have passed away whilst I had the golden staph, my family and friends out there would have said, Peter had cancer, poor guy, died from cancer. Did I? No. And 80% of people that die, that have been battling cancer, it's not the cancer that they died from. It's the alternative or other pneumonia or other disease or whatever infection that they received, because their immune system was 0.
Yeah.
Well, how can you get your immune system to go back up when you keep getting drugs put into you? It doesn't make sense. Chemo, it makes no sense. Radiation, it doesn't make any logical explanation to why they would use that.
What does make sense is the food that you eat.
100%, and that's
the
it.
Food,
There's the key.
And the food that they consider safe and something that should be part of staple diets are the exact foods that are causing cancer.
That's right.
So I don't know if you know this statistic, but if you had cancer and you ate, I'm not going to say any brand names, but certain yogurts out there or certain meats out there, you are 49% more likely to get cancer again.
That's right.
And so that's one, the diet that you're eating. But number 2, chemo does not do away with the stem cell part of the cell. There's stem cells that are in cancer cells, and when you have radiation and chemotherapy, it just kills the cells but doesn't kill the stem cells. So it's the stem cells that regrow and bring cancer back, which is why the healing from the inside out with the food and the diet is also a very important step in curing yourself. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask, is when you're in hospital, do they address diet at all?
Absolutely not. In fact, this is interesting. We all know, it's common knowledge within the cancer industry patients that if you go to a holistic doctor, or you do your research, that the biggest enemy for cancer is sugar.
Yeah.
Yes, yet whilst I was in hospital, they would give me dessert every day. Dessert. They never spoke about sugar. Now I know for a fact sugar, and that's why, the big, I'm not going to mention names out there that put sugar into their buns and their processed food, and the kids get addicted to it.
Yeah.
And in the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, the diseases and cancers are going to only double because of the amount of sugar that we take. So when I researched that, I cut sugar out. I cut all, the white, you mentioned yogurt.
Yeah.
Skim milk.
Yeah.
Skim milk is not good for you.
Yeah.
It's a fact. But yet they'll push it because, they show some woman in a beautiful bikini, lose weight, and it's all fake news.
Yeah. I was speaking to a vegan psychologist yesterday, and she was saying that milk is the biggest lie that we have been told, that the chemicals in the milk and just the way that it sits in your body is causing so much disease out there. And yet it's part of the triangle of foods that we should be eating, and the foods that our kids should be eating.
That's right.
We've got generation of knowledge that's been handing down from our grandparents and their grandparents, and if you peel it down to the very, very core of the medical industry, which we touched upon before, but I think it's important that the audience knows, can you tell them a little bit about the history of the people that built the pharmaceutical companies in the early 1900s?
Excuse me, sorry. Look, do you know, a lot of people don't know this, and as I said, and I'm going to be careful what I say here, but it is a fact. So, if they want to say it's political correctness or whatever, you've got to be careful. But, I'm going to say it as it is. Even the day of World War II and World War I, with Adolf Hitler, with the gas chambers. Now, do people realise that those camps were funded by pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah.
The pharmaceutical companies also provided the poison and everything else they used to obviously kill off the Jews. Do people that? No, they don't. So it goes right back to them. They are so powerful, the pharmaceutical companies, that even the doctors, when I questioned the doctor and said, well, doctor, this drug that you're supposedly saying to me, or telling people they should take, and it's a new drug, and where did you read it? We get our information from the medical journal. The medical journal. Well, guess what? Who owns the medical journal?
Yeah.
And pharmaceutical companies.
Yep.
Look at what's happening with vaccination around the world today. There's a big movement against anti-vaccination because people start to realise what vaccination does to you.
Yeah.
Without mentioning a name, there's a personal friend who worked at a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
And she said, she left the company, and she said, Peter, if you knew what goes into the vaccines, you would never let your kids be vaccinated.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm saying this. I know there's going to be people that don't agree with me. I'm only telling you what I know, and she worked there.
Yeah. So you're not against people getting vaccinated because you believe that people should be protected, but we are being told lies as to what is being put into those vaccinations.
Thank you very much. Look at cigarettes. Cigarettes. The things that goes in, the company themselves put on their own product, their own brand, this causes cancer, but yet they'll sell it. And the government allows it because there's money, millions and billions of dollars involved in tobacco sales.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm coming from. It's about time, and it's people like myself that get out there and say, listen, if you're sick, if you have cancer, whatever it is, just do your research. Don't just let them tell you, oh, look, you need to have chemo. Well, okay, that's fine. But do your research.
Yeah.
Find out. Can I tell you something? Look at a horse. Lean. Quick. Muscly. And what does it eat? Grass.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Do you see my point?
Yeah.
We've got to go back to the original. creation. Again, if you believe in God or you believe in the evolution,
Yeah.
the natural things that we all 40, 50 years ago, I'm Italian background. I went back to Italy 3 times. My family, they had farms and that, they lived till in 90s and 105. Why? Because of the stuff that they grew in their own organic in the backyard and not the processed food and the sugars and all these things out there.
Yeah.
And that's the key. We've got to go back to the diets.
Back to the basics of the
basics.
diet. And you hit a point. I saw a documentary, What the Health, recently. Very interesting. Something that I've known for a long time, but it's just been brought back to my attention, that a lot of the cancer that we see is due to the meat that we eat.
Yes.
And not that meat is a bad thing,
No.
because meat is good in the diet, but it's the hormones and the chemicals and all this other stuff that's injected
That's right.
in the animals that hasn't even been tested on humans. Yet
right.
we are eating it on a
That's right.
daily basis. And
That's right.
we have been eating meat on a mass production for decades.
That's right.
But I believe that if we were to pull that back, if we were not so reliant on these big companies like the big meat industries and the big companies that produce mass amounts of food, which is where all the chemicals come from, if we scale it back and just start to think locally, grow our fruits and vegetables in our backyard and buy produce from people around us so they don't need to use chemicals for mass scale, I think a lot of our issues would be the only reason why we are given these options in grocery stores is because it's being mass produced and it's an easy option, and people have become lazy in terms of what they put. I am too. I'm lazy too, because it takes a little bit of thought to decide, okay, I'm not going to eat that piece of meat, I'm going to eat maybe a vegetable instead. Or it takes a lot of thought to change your diet into becoming eating to live and not living to eat.
That's right.
And
Sorry guys, but I'm just suffering from the flu this morning, so hear me coughing, I apologise. But Sheena, our bodies was designed to self-heal. I mean, that's pretty much it. So that means that our immune system, do you know that there would be 90% of people that throughout their life would have had a cancer start to grow in their body.
right.
But they never realised and never knew about it because the immune system was so strong that it actually it killed the cells. So that's why the old saying, you're not sick because you have cancer because you're sick. So if you have a deficiency, that's when the cancer started. And I in my case, I believe what I went through in 2007 and 8 with the divorce and the financial pressure and all these things is the stress that impact on my body. My immune system went down, and I think that's what started it.
Yeah.
But going back to what I said, my father, my mother, my sister, myself, all been affected. 3 of us with cancer, 1 with MS. Do you know we grew up in Newcastle, which is from Sydney 2.5 hours north. And back when we were kids, we remember we lived near an industrial place called BHP, and every day between 3 and 4 o'clock, every single day, Sheena, they would release this dust in the air. It was red. And my mother would show us, run her fingers along the windowsill and say, look at this. We didn't know any better. We were inhaling that for years and years and years. And you know the interesting part? I went back because after I got my cancer, I did some research.
Yeah.
Just in our street, going back, and I asked the grandchildren, going back, do you know that 82% of the people that passed away in our street died from or had cancer?
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. And you do hear stories like in wine countries, in Temecula, in Napa Valley, people are just dying from cancer. They have autoimmune, and they're starting to put together the dots that there's something going on here. And on your point, what are your thoughts on chemtrails? A lot of the people probably don't know about chemtrails and don't know that some of the airplanes that you see in the sky that are emitting what looks like the fumes from the airplane, but in reality it's it's something else. Can you talk a little bit about
Well,
that?
at the beginning when I mean, everybody on a daily, weekly basis, you look up in the sky and you see it, and you don't think much of it. In fact, a lot of the people go, "Wow, that looks nice." But when I started to research and ask some people, and then they were involved in aviation, and then they started to explain and tell you that, do you know what? I've got to be careful what I say here, but it's about control.
Yeah.
It's about keeping us sick. That's all I'm going to say. And I believe that streak of
Yeah.
smoke, dust, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
it actually goes over the where people live and where we inhale it and breathe it and everything else. It's called control. It's called the governments and everybody total control. This is why people don't like Donald Trump, because Donald Trump says, I'm going to expose, I'm going to tell the truth, and that's what it's all about. And people starting now, because of the media, because of the internet and everything else, people now starting to realise, well, hang on, you've been telling me all these years, but now I'm starting to realise what the chemo you're giving me, the vaccination you're giving me, and these other drugs you're giving me, and
Yeah.
everything else is not good for my body.
Yeah.
You know, the processed food, the amount of food, the quick food, you're pushing us to eat. You watch a 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. You watch a football game, and they're pushing, these fast food.
Hamburgers and yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, these kids are getting addicted, and this is why. Isn't it interesting that 30, 40 years ago, who knew about my family? We ate peanuts. No one got allergic.
No.
There was no such thing as being allergic to peanut
Yeah.
to peanut butter. There's nothing we hear about kids.
That's a good point. I never, yeah.
And all of a sudden now, all these kids are going through all these supposedly diseases and they're allergic. Is it really, or is it what we've been eating over
Yeah,
the years
yeah.
that start to catch up to us?
Yeah,
And that's the thing.
In this documentary, again, I'm going to send you the link. The What the Health. Why I liked it was that the commentary guy was my age, and he was reflecting back at when he was growing up, the things that he was eating, the sandwich meat, the deli, the deli crackers with the cheese, the yogurt, all these things that appeared to be healthy were in fact not healthy. And he's grown up for 20 years thinking that these foods were healthy. And I watched this and I said to myself, I'm going to make a conscious effort to tell my daughter that these foods are actually not healthy. And it's a mind shift that because knowledge gets passed from one generation to another
right.
generation, and we believe what we are told.
That's
and
right.
it's time to stop believing, because our world it's a disaster.
It is.
In every sense of the word. I mean, like war, finance,
Suicide,
health,
depression, everything.
Yes.
And that's why we have a lot of suicide today with young teenagers, because they don't have a purpose in life. And look, it comes back to what I do today. I'm an inspirational speaker. Why am I an inspirational speaker? Because, from how I overcome my cancer and my adversity since 2007, people ask me to share my story. And I started to get asked to different places, and all of a sudden now I get businesses and corporations that invite me to share my story, not just about because I beat cancer, but the principles I used, the mindset to overcome challenges. And yes, food, attitude, everything is combined.
Yeah.
Do you know in America, there's been 8 researchers, doctors, that have said that they know what is in the vaccines, but they will never ever disclose it in front of a camera because of the fear of what might happen.
Yeah.
And they've come out and said it. They said that they know what's in there, and it's...
I've heard there's pig matter, there's mercury.
Absolutely.
Do you know my dad has been sick, and he's been dizzy and faintish, and it turns out that there's mercury in his blood.
That's
and
right.
he's had to clean his blood every week from the mercury, and he's getting better, but he is getting sick because of the mercury, which comes from the tuna that he's eating, and the molars that he's put in his mouth,
right.
and the vaccinations that he's had, and God knows what else is creating this.
I mean, look at now, they think they're looking at bringing vaccinations for people over 65. Like really?
And they're saying that the vaccinations are actually what's causing autism, but what's causing illness in elderly people, like MS and dementia.
Dementia, that's right. No one knew about this, and I remember. Look, I'm 55, so I can go back quite a while, and all these things have happened in the last 20 odd years.
Yeah.
Look, I'm going to share something, and again, please. Again, I'm not pointing the finger, but it's a question I'm going to put out there to your listeners. The government today is looking at taking welfare away from families if they don't vaccinate their kids. Fine, no problem. But let me put this out to them. Malcolm Turnbull, our Prime Minister.
Yeah.
And I'm a liberal supporter, so he's a liberal man. His wife, Lucy Turnbull, is the chairman of a board of a pharmaceutical company, and I won't mention the name, but she's the chairman of a pharmaceutical company that specialises in vaccination and chemo treatment. That's all I'm going to say. I know, being in the corporate world, that a chairman's position is to make sure that company or corporation is profitable.
Makes money.
Okay? So I'm putting it out there, and if you don't believe me, just Google her name.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
what else can I say?
I'm so grateful to meet you, Peter, because you are challenging the status quo, and I think everybody needs to just at least listen to what we have. I've got at least 5 years of experience doing my research with cancer. We've got a live example of somebody that has not only done his research but cured yourself from terminal cancer. Now, I'm going to conclude with one final piece of advice that you can give me.
Sure.
I have had this experience with my neighbor. So I recently moved. I used to live in Des Moines, and the woman that lived above me, bless her soul, her name was Joan, and she ended up having cancer. And I didn't know at the time that she had cancer, but she would call me. She would call for help, and I would have to run upstairs, peel her off the toilet, get her out of the bed, the window frame, and she was just always stuck, and I always had to go up and help her, and it was very distressing for me.
Yep.
I had never experienced this before, and I became her helper. Now, that was a very uncomfortable situation. I reached out to my friends, what do I do? We ended up taking her to the hospital, and she ended up passing away. And I was very, very passionately upset about the way the hospital treated her post-treatment. She would have these treatments, she would go home weaker than she went in, and nothing to her well-being at the house. So that was about 6 months ago. Fast forward, I've now moved to a new place, and the same thing has happened. I came home from a run the other day to a help, run upstairs, and my dear, beautiful neighbor is stuck in the bath. And I had to help her get out of the bath. I saw that she had just gotten a treatment on her back. She was fresh. She doesn't normally, she apologized and said, I'm not normally this weak. And I said, I understand you've just had treatment. Don't worry about it. Let's get you out. So I've helped her. And I cannot go and experience this again by somebody that has still the spark in her eye. She still has a will to live. And I went up to her 2 days ago and I said, look, you're taking medicine that's not helping you, and we need to, she's 72 years old, and I said, you still have at least another 20 years in you. And I told her about you, Peter, and I said, I'm speaking to somebody that has cured himself from just thought alone, and we can do this. If you want to get off of your meds, they won't let her get off her meds. And I said, look, if you want to do this, let's bring in your sons and let's, form a plan. Do you have any advice for somebody like this, or people out there who are facing cancer, who are going through treatments and they are coming back weaker and might have an inkling of a desire to do this in a different way? And
you know what, Sheena, thank you for sharing that. Look, the only thing I can share and tell your listeners out there is this. Your attitude, and this is to everyone out there, it doesn't matter if it's cancer or whatever challenge you're facing, your attitude towards circumstances is the key to succeeding or not. The other thing is having a purpose. The lady, myself, I see, I needed to have a purpose to stay alive. Every day I needed to stay alive. And if people have a purpose, I don't care if it's cancer or whatever you may be facing, any other illness or challenge, if you have a purpose to make sure that tomorrow you're going to be alive, and the next day, and the 5 years, and 10 years, and 20 years, because that's what I wanted to do, I needed a purpose. Your body then will respond to your subconscious. Remember this, your subconscious mind is 30,000 times more powerful than just your mind. Your subconscious accepts everything as a fact. So even if it's a lie and you say something, self-talk, a negative thought, it will accept it as a fact, and it will then through your body, and your body will then respond or react if it's a negative thing. So whoever's facing cancer, if you're listening to me right now, all I'm saying is this. I'm not saying stop your chemo if you're doing your chemo. All I'm saying is do your research. But you know what? You can beat this. I believe everyone has a chance and a hope to beat cancer. And if you know what, if it starts from our leaders, the government, right through to everyone out there, start spreading the word and getting out there to say, guys, women, men, children, you can beat cancer. Your mindset will then change, your thought pattern will change, your attitude will change, and guess what? Your body will start to respond to your mindset, and you will win. We will have a chance to beat cancer, even though the pharmaceutical companies don't want to release the cure. We can do it on our own by just, first of all, yourself. You need to change. You need to start having that attitude, I'm going to beat this.
Yeah. Because
cancer and you is at war, and you're either going to allow it to beat you or you're going to beat it.
Yeah.
And I beat it. Mike, I'm wearing a cap today, as you can see, and even my car, I put number plates on there that says NVGVUP, which stands for never give up. Never give up, no matter what. And that's my motto. It's on my Facebook page under Peter Di Prinzio, motivational speaker. I've got another page called Never Give Up No Matter What. You guys can find me on that if you need to talk to me. But that's the key. And this woman just needs to stand up. We all need to stand up and say, enough's enough. Yeah. If you guys out there are not going to help us, I'm going to help myself. Yeah. And it's going to start from me and my mind. And once you plant that seed, then the body will respond.
Oh, Peter, you are just amazing. You know what? I would love for you to stand in front of 50 cancer patients.
Love to.
And just share your good love and your good word. And I'm so grateful that you exist, because you beat terminal cancer. You are living proof. And that's all we need. Whenever I find that somebody's got some sort of cancer, I Google it and I say, beat it naturally or cure themselves naturally. And if there's just one example, then it's possible.
That's it. You know, going back to, just quickly before we finish, just going back to you were talking about sugar. Yeah. I asked my oncologist about sugar. I said, doctor, is it true that sugar is really not good? I wanted to get his opinion. You know what he said? Well, he said, nah, he said some person wrote a book about it to make money. And I thought that was the strangest thing to hear a doctor saying that someone wrote a book about sugar's not good for for your health and that, to make money. When, and the fact is this, that every time someone gets chemotherapy, the doctor, there's money involved.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's as simple as that.
There's kickbacks.
There's but even, besides rewards, but financial rewards, massive amount of money. Yeah. Massive. And you know what? Us being sick and keeping us sick keeps them in business.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And I recently did visit somebody who had cancer in the hospital, and the food that she was given was astonishing. Like microwavable, dried, processed food that I would not even feed my dog. And, there's no fruits, there's no vegetables, there's nothing live and fresh, which your body needs, enzymes to cure themselves. cure. I talk about the cells. The cells need to cure themselves.
Well, on a daily basis, I eat a lot of fruit, a lot of greens, a lot of vegetables now. I've cut out white rice, white pasta, and I'm Italian. I love my pasta, but you can buy wholemeal pasta. So I've cut, if I do have sugar, it's organic brown sugar.
Yeah.
So all these things, and that's why I'm saying to your listeners, just do your research.
Yeah.
But don't think about this. And as I said at the beginning of the program, give me a logical explanation, please, anybody, that radiation, which we all know what radiation does to your body, gives you cancer.
Yeah.
And chemotherapy, which is one level below death because of the toxic poison, why would you use that to cure cancer?
Yeah.
That's my question. Please, give me but nobody can.
And why won't they give you other options, such as cannabis oil, such as diet, such as the Grzinski method? Why don't they give you all options?
Well, cannabis oil, there's been a lot of debate about it. If I heard the news the other day that they're looking at, the gentleman come up and said, we want to do a trial and we want, the research and so. You know what they're going to do? Mark my words. They will allow this to cancer patients, but you can only buy it from
the pharmaceutical industry.
And then you ask the question, what do they put in it? Is it naturally from the person grows it and gives you? No. And this is the question. This is what it's all about, money.
And why can't we just cure ourselves? Why do we have to go through the?
We can. I say to people, please don't take the T away from the can't, and you can. You can do it. But you've got to, first of all, you've got to be, you know what? Air, you don't see it, but because you don't see it doesn't mean you stop breathing.
Yeah.
Faith is the same, belief is the same. Just because you can't, if you believe it and you plant that seed that you can cure cancer, you can overcome a financial situation, you can overcome a personal relationship, or whatever it is you're facing, you can and you will. But you got to believe and you got to see the manifestation at the end. You got to believe that it's already happened, and that's what I did.
Yeah.
I believed that I was already cured, I was already healed, and then it just manifested.
Yeah.
That's it. End of story. End of story.
Oh, Peter, I could talk to you forever, and I'm sure. I think we need to put on the Cancer Critic, and we should have you on as a regular guest. And I'd love for cancer patients to call in and to get some advice, and I can totally see you as being a big part of this movement in the future, and continue to share your story, and I'll help in any way I can.
Thank you. Look, I get asked to speak now as an inspirational speaker. Like I said, I went from getting asked to speak at big morning tea, cancer meetings, and about my story, from now corporate and sales meetings and that, because and that's what I want to do. I just want to inspire the young teenagers right up to the adults and the pensioners that just never give up, no matter what.
Yeah. So do you have packages that people can purchase in terms of life coaching and therapeutic work through these kinds of illnesses?
Sheena, I don't have actually packages, because everyone has their own challenges, whatever it may be. If it's sickness, if it's financial, if it's personal, if it's suicide thoughts or depression, whatever it may be. So it's not. They either contact me, and anything to do with cancer, right? I don't charge.
Right. Wow.
Because I've been there, I've had my family go through it. I don't charge.
That's beautiful.
Sure, if one of your listeners has a corporation wants to invite me to speak at a seminar, sure, then that's how the world turns. But anything to do with cancer, people want to contact me through Facebook, or I can give. Am I allowed to give my email address?
Absolutely. This is your time.
Okay, if you want to email me, you can email me at peter.dge. That's D for door, G for gate, E for Ernie, at iCloud.com. So peter.dge at iCloud.com.
And Facebook?
Facebook.
What's your last name?
Peter Di Prinzio, spelled D-I, then a space, capital P-R-I-N-Z-I-O. Good Italian name. There's a few on there. I'm the good-looking one, so you won't miss me. But it's Peter Di Prinzio, motivational speaker, so that's me.
Yeah, and I'll tag you in the post. So anybody that wants to speak to Peter, I highly suggest. Yep. You're a ball of energy, positive energy, and it
doesn't have to be cancer, Shen. It can be they might be facing something in their life right now.
Yeah.
Please contact me, because that's my purpose, and there's the key. My purpose in life is to inspire people and to never give up. And that's my motto. Never give up no matter what.
Yeah, and your energy is contagious.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Peter.
Thanks, Sheena. Nice to be here. And have a great
Thanks,
day.
guys.
What a beautiful view.
Yeah, it's a wonderful view. We'll put the little jingle on here. Huh. Maybe we won't.
Is it done?
Let's see. Okay.
How was that?
That was awesome. Let's turn this on.